Good morning, and thank you for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning. My name is Alero Edu, and welcome to Sunrise.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning, and welcome to the show.
Sorry I missed you all last week. Well, I'm here today. That's the
she wasn't here last
important
week.
thing.
She wasn't here last week. She was having a cup of cocoa while I was having a cup of cocoa.
And he slurped it.
Yeah, okay, I shouldn't.
He slurped it. He slurped his cocoa.
It's actually quite hot, you know what I'm saying? Very hot. And it's good for the head.
Well, those of us who live in Lagos.
A touch of honey to it, yes, thank you.
I've always said to you guys that this guy has got a screw loose. I have no doubt about that. And I'm sure he has proved to you that there is something a bit...
Is it a debate?
You know.
You have been able to confuse and not convince.
Anyway, those of us who live in Lagos can't seem to exist without the Third Mainland Bridge. And we were all very excited when we heard the news last week that it was going to be opened by Monday the 15th. Only for us to wake up on Saturday, I think it was, and be told that the reopening had been postponed for 2 weeks. So we are all waiting very anxiously for next week, end of the month, when the bridge will be open.
Well, that's on the one hand, Alero. Another side to that would be two other avenues of mobility in this city. Especially the major challenge, of course, is the Lagos Island, Lagos Mainland shuttle. On the one hand, the previous government in Lagos was working towards a jetty system, well, to activate it even more actively. You'll know that there is this portion of land cleared at Oroshoki.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah, a very large expanse there. And the plan was, at least what was put out to the people, is that we're going to have a jetty so you don't really, you can park your car there and, take the boat to wherever your office is. And then when you're done on your way back, you can just, pick up your car from there. That will reduce the load of traffic on the Third Mainland Bridge.
Yes.
How far with that? That's one. Secondly is the famous conversation around the Fourth Mainland Bridge. Although, of course, some progress is being made, the Lagos State government is putting out word, has a timeline, has a short list of contractors and all of that, but I think one of the issues to deal with as far as that is concerned is let there be communication. Let people take ownership of it. Let people, be able to embrace it as part of their own as well so that they can maintain it. And then we have, ways of ensuring that we don't wait endlessly. But traffic in Lagos, it was a long time coming.
Whether there was Third Mainland Bridge or not, there was and there is traffic in Lagos, and that is what we call go slow in Lagos. And it's like because there's no data, the government can't really plan. How many people are coming into Lagos every day? We're told about 20, 30,000 every day from all over the country because they believe that Lagos is where it's happening and Lagos is where they're going to make money. So Lagos, I feel for you, but there isn't much I can do to help you. I feel for you.
So let's go to the menu for the day.
Okay, we're going to start by looking at the state of security. I mean, that has been on the front burner for every week in the last 2-3 months.
I mean, years.
Well, that's all we talk about, security, and, we keep hearing of incidents that really shake us.
Well, this morning we're also expecting perhaps to give some information to us on that and a number of other things that will be of interest to our people is a chat with the Minister of Information. We hope we'll be able to engage with the Honorable Minister of Information this morning, Information and Culture this morning, and we'll take it from there.
And then we were told in the course of this week that Nigeria has come out of a recession. We'll be talking about that as well.
And then, of course, you remember we had a conversation some weeks ago about the Chevening alumni program. Well, it's on the burner again. Just stick with us to for this perspective.
And today is World Pangolin Day. You're going to be wondering, pangolin, they have a whole day dedicated to them? Yes, they do, and that's because they are endangered. Those beautiful things that look like armadillos, they are endangered. So we need to talk about them and how to preserve them.
You don't want to know what came to my mind. Well, the artist of the week this morning is an artist. Oh, yes, it's an artist. But is it a musician, an actor, a comedian? Wait for it.
Stick around. You'll find out. So we'll be right back to start the program. Get your whatever it is you like.
This one.
Settle down and be a part of the program. Our Twitter handles will be on the screen in just a moment. Email address, everything's going to be there so you can be part of the program. Yes, he's sipping his cocoa, and I have nothing in front of me. See you in just a moment.
No, but you had cocoa.
See you in just a moment. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's get the show started. During the week, gunmen abducted and killed one student, abducted several others at the Government Science College, Kagara, in Rafi local government area of Niger State. While some has advised that the government should negotiate with the bandits for the release of the boys, some are against it and say that we should not be negotiating with bandits. And such action would actually encourage more kidnappings. Today we will examine the state of security across the country. And we have two very seasoned security consultants to help us through this task. It's my pleasure to welcome Pastor Laddie Thompson, who is here with us in the studio. Good morning.
Pleasure is always mine.
And joining us via Zoom is Dr. Ona Ekomo. Morning, Ona.
It's not ready yet, so let's get this show on the road. You definitely, Pastor Thompson, I know you're hearing this for the first time, and each time you hear it, I know, because having had a few conversations with you, your perspectives are generally different. Okay, maybe as a reminder, what exactly are we up against? Is it insecurity because it's insecurity? Because some of the insecurity issues have been decrypted to be economic. Banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and stuff like that. What exactly are we up against?
Well, this must be my about 15th year talking in the public and saying that we are up against a hydra that has an agenda. It uses religion as a cover. It is not religious. Its primary tool is a clinical use of terror. And where Nigeria is right now is that we are transiting from the third stage into the final stage of the progression that the use of clinical terror takes you through before a nation collapses from within. The first stage, when the terror comes, is indignation. They push it, go after soft targets, then it becomes, acceptance. This is the way life is going to be. Then they push the envelope a bit more, using fear properly, and then it becomes resignation. At that point of resignation, unimaginable things will be discussed. At that point of resignation, your brain is no longer functioning. Fear has become a part of our national life right now. And so a lot of people are accommodating things they would never have accommodated. Let me put it like this. Imagine a community of married people, and somebody comes in with some boys and says, "Can we borrow your wife overnight? We will return her tomorrow. We just want to give her pleasure, but we'll return her tomorrow." The average man will take that person apart. you know. But they come in and they talk to the first person and say, we just want to borrow your wife for the night. And while he's vehemently protesting, they hold him down and cut his head off. You see, by the time they ask the next person that, do you mind, can we just borrow your wife for one evening? We will return her tomorrow. You'll be shocked that with very civil tones, if he disagrees at all, he will say, does it have to be so? He'll be very meek. And then he starts negotiating. Can't you just have her till midnight and bring her back? So this is where we are in Nigeria right now. We are transiting from this third stage into the final stage. It's been a learning curve. It's a systemic problem. And Nigeria has tried its best, I must say, I must tell you. But until we diagnose properly, I've kept saying, we will never see what this really is.
When you say it's been a learning curve, what have we learned?
Well, I've told you, I said the kinetics, the solution, the military part of the solution is only maximum 37%. I think we're coming to the point of saturation where it has become clear that a military response, even when the military has now accepted that there's asymmetrical warfare, there's hybrid threats, there's a deconstruction of the chain of command and all that, haven't done their best. That's why you find out that the Minister of Defense, somebody like Rashid Magashi, will say point blank that, look, you guys get involved. That's what he was saying. Stop looking at just the military alone to do it. So the learning curve has brought us to the place right now where the other things needed to solve the problem will start coming into focus if the window of time will allow us.
But Reverend, what can the poor citizens do? They're not armed. So when these threats come along, what do they do? Okay, look at those on the Lagos-Benin Expressway, for instance. They don't have guns, they don't have knives, so what do they do when these threats come along?
Well, the point is we need to understand that there's a non-military aspect to solving this problem. And that is what the rest of Nigeria needs to do, a non-military aspect. The non-military aspect, first of all, is that we need to build a coalition across all divides. If we don't do that, we're not going to survive. What this is that it is opportunistic. So all our religious cleavages, our tribal cleavages, political cleavages, it embraces and uses everything because it's a global problem with an architecture of thought that is highly advanced. It changes its face, uses different actors, funds, defunds, changes form, so that before you can even detect it, you have to be able to concatenate. And, that's one of the things that in the Nigeria healthcare system, there are sicknesses and diseases that when the Nigerian system says, look, we can't handle this, we take the person abroad. So also in the area of security, I remember in 2012, I remember granting an interview that was on the front page, I think it was The Sun. I remember it was, I think, a Iboka. And I then said that President Jonathan is a wartime president. And that the only reason they have not declared war is because it's a new war form. Now, we're under the dispensation of President Muhammad Buhari, who is a military general. So the 37% will be complete. But we're still not going to now discover that even with his 37%, we are still not going to win. We're dealing with something that's extremely clever. So what am I trying to point out? Right now, for instance, we're at a stage where I feel sorry for us. If you read the newspaper, November 7th was a Sunday in 2004. At that time, Bishop Akinla used to be was the CAN president at that time. At that time, a young fiery cleric returned from, I think, Saudi Arabia and settled in Kaduna. His first tafsir in the mosque was hot. It was incendiary. He threw down the Nigerian constitution, said, what rubbish is this? He said, how can the nation survive with hypocrites, with with unbelievers, with pagans? And he began to incite the people. This was in the mosque in Kaduna. Now, it was televised, it was put on radio for days after. but it was in Hausa language. This fiery clerk did not realize that there are patriots all over this country, Muslims and Christians. So the tape ended up in Lagos, and there was a build-up to kill people at that year in 2004 in Kaduna. At that time, the salvation of Nigeria, if I tell you who God used for us then, you may not believe it, but we had to, after we found out that we informed the security organizations, we did all that had to be done, things were still proceeding in Kaduna. The build-up towards violence, to killing people, was still on ground. Don't forget I was serving the CAN president then. So we called the media to assist us. And it was the media who solved the problem. And the major person whose contribution worked the most was that of Femi Adesina. See, that's why sometimes I look at people when they abuse Femi Adesina and all that, and I say, you guys don't understand the kind of war we are up against and how that uninformed opinions only make matters worse. Femi Adesina almost lost his job in 2004 because he took the front page and addressed the issue. And if you look at the front page, Archbishop Akinla was on one side saying, you want to kill my people. On the other side, there was this fiery cleric who said, I only hate those who drink beer. When that publication went viral, it became a global issue, which is still going to become again. That young sheikh ran out of Nigeria. Adesina almost lost his job, but his superiors then, his senior then, because he stuck out his neck to say, look, you can't kill people under our watch. The correspondent in Kaduna, I think, was sacked instantly before they found out that the story did not break from Kaduna. Now, Adesina is in the presidency, but I know he hasn't changed. It's just that he's a wise person who knows that influence has to be used properly. That same sheikh today is becoming the hope of Nigeria. Is that sheikh today who walks into the Sambisa forest and says he wants to negotiate on Nigeria's behalf? Is that same sheikh who has been able to get in contact with the people who kidnapped students in Niger State? Now, if that sheikh becomes the go-between between all of us, look, I trust the government. I trust our military. I trust our people. But that sheikh, if Nigeria makes the mistake of making him the go-between to negotiate the so-called release, let Nigeria go back in 2014 and see what that sheikh said. Let Nigeria go back in 2012 and see his comments. His comments then was that, why should you kill Boko Haram? They are actually our brothers. They are Muslims. Just get your soldiers out of the way. Get your police out of the way. It's an internal affair. It doesn't concern you. Those were his comments. One later comment then was that they should kill the serving president. They should kill the chief of staff. They should kill so. Very incendiary talk then. Okay. And that Nigeria would know peace. Now, that is now the hope of Nigeria. And I'm telling you something, if we make the mistake of playing into their hands, because you are dealing with global intelligence, don't think he has come up by himself. He's come up with a global lobby with all sorts of things behind him.
Okay. We need to take a break now, because this is getting, rather interesting, and hope that by the time we return from the break, Dr. Onaihomo would have joined us. So please stay with us. Well, thank you for staying with us. Dr. Onaihomo has joined us this morning on this conversation. Thank you so much, Doc. We have begun this conversation, and you must be really concerned yourself as a security consultant, in our country. I'm wondering, with all the conversations that we've been having, all the issues that we've been raising, it would seem like this is not abating.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Ayo, for having me, and Mr. Lero, good morning, and then my brother, Pastor Ladi, I greet all of you. We have a very naughty problem, a very stubborn problem, if you may, and this is, I've described this in the past, that if you have a disease and you keep applying the wrong cure, it will never heal. And in fact, it might end up killing the organism. And that is what I hear, the kind of thing, the analogies and the analysis I'm hearing from Pastor Ladi at the studio. This problem has festered for far too long, and there's been, it's mutating. Just take COVID, for example. COVID now has so many variants, and that is what is happening to this problem. Boko Haram has been on ground for 12 years, and you know, it's mutated into these headsmen, banditry. I call it metastasis of insurgency throughout the country. And of course, certainly it's now gone beyond a northern problem. It's now a southern problem too, because it's even right there in my home state, Edo State. Also, I heard my governor this week saying that we are not going to cede any land to any bandits, and so on and so forth. So it's really a very serious problem, and it has potential for probably setting this whole country on fire. When I prayed this morning, one of my prayer points was that God should restore peace to Nigeria. But then it is us, the men, you guys, the media, that have to work together to ensure that this peace is restored. Because the policy choices of our political actors, they are very important. They must make wise choices. They must look to the future of this country. And we must deny the Americans their prediction that Nigeria will fold up in 2015, which, of course, didn't happen. We are 6 years down the road. But we are knocking on that 2015 door again. 2015 as a metaphor. We are knocking on the door again. We are trying to disintegrate this country. And it's very simple. I keep saying, people come, they make all kinds of political statements. And I'm like, look, the problem we have in Nigeria is that security is not in place. When I say security, I'm not even talking about national security in the context of when Nigeria going to war with Cameroon or Niger or whoever, or even with France. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying simple things. You have headsmen in the bush kidnapping people. Those people should be shown they are 6 feet. And it's as simple as that. You know, there are ways of going after these people. Ladi is talking to you in the studio there. He's a treasure trove of knowledge of fighting fighting insurgents, counterinsurgency, anti-terrorism. These are skills that we need to give to people. So the problem simply, to just make my opening comments crisp, Ladi, is that our problem in Nigeria is we have too many soft targets, and we have very lax, or perhaps in fact no enforcement of the laws. So we need to build back our law enforcement capacities. We need to deal ruthlessly with people who are trying to cause problems in this town, in this country, because you see bandits coming from Mali, from Burkina Faso, from Futajalon, wherever the hell in Senegambia. They come in here with their heads. They find a safe haven in Nigeria because it's porous. They start attacking citizens. They start taking over farms. 3 local governments in Niger State are under bandit control today. Shiroro, Rafi, and Muya. You know, so what are we talking about? So if the bandits control Rafi local government and they go and collect students from Kagara, which one is their own? They own it. So, I mean, we have to negotiate with them, have to pay them good cash so that they can give us our students back. And it's just it's a scam going on in this country. So we really need to have the federal government sit back and say, you know what, this is going to stop. And then we need to rebuild a good security infrastructure, not infrastructure, architecture that will help us ensure that this works out. So it's unfortunate, but that's what we have in the country today.
Yeah, we're talking about, well, some people have advised the government to go and negotiate with these bandits who have taken these boys so that the boys can be returned. What is the implication of negotiating with bandits and kidnappers?
Thank you, Mr. Lero. The implication is that you get the captives back. That's if they are nice. because you can actually pay. Like in the case of Chief Dennis Abuda in those state, the guy they kidnapped at Benin bypass on the 30th of January, they paid 16 million, but they killed him. In fact, they had executed him right by the roadside, marching into the forest because he wasn't able to keep up. But his family didn't know. They hoodwinked the family and they paid 16 million all the same. So yes, you could pay and not get your relative back. But the point is now, when 3 days ago, when the boys were kidnapped, some political executive in Niger State, I won't name his name, he got up and said, we will never negotiate with terrorists. And when I was interviewed, I said, oh, don't mind him. They will negotiate. Don't mind him. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's a young man. He's new to the role. They will negotiate. And of course, lo and behold, in fact, he's one of the leaders of the negotiation today. So the point here being, when you have been had, you have been had. I mean, there's no two ways about it, because we have shown that we don't have the enforcement capability to rescue people who are in the custody of bad guys. We have shown that abundantly. Now, the capability that the IGP's rescue team has demonstrated, and which is good, is that we can get some of the perpetrators after the fact. But you know, those are the kind of guys, like when you talk about Evans, the kidnappers who live in town. Those guys who live in the bush, who is going to go after them in the bush? Because if the police go in there, they will grab them also, and they will make other people pay ransom. They will make their family members pay ransom for them. So the point I'm making here is that we know that we are not. We should focus really on prevention of these kinds of things. And how do we prevent it? We need to harden the populace. We need to do soft target handling. We need to give our people information about how to avoid being victimized. Look at that school in Kagara. That school is a mess. For example, if I saw the video footage, it's a mess. There's no soft target hardening that was in place here. Yet that was a school that in Rafi local government, which is a headquarters of the bandits. So I mean, give me a break, man. I mean, we are not serious about security, and we really ought to be.
Pastor Ladi, if we know where these criminals are, instead of negotiating with them, can't we just use our firepower to destroy the whole place? I'm thinking about David Koresh, for instance, and the Branch Davidians. In the end, the whole place was leveled to the ground.
I wish we could have resolved it like that. But you see, he understands what he's saying. See, you are dealing with something that's a lot more intelligent than that. What you are looking at is just the military head of it. Don't forget that in the tenure of Goodluck Jonathan as president of Nigeria, he said, I have some of them in my cabinet here. So we're talking about infiltration. We're talking about some of them in media. We're talking about a hydra. We're talking about a global effort. We're talking about financials. You see, when you're dealing with something that's very intelligent, you can't afford not to outthink it. So if you say, oh, let's just go after this, you'll find out that most of the times, even before you get to where they are, somehow somebody has informed and they've disappeared. So how do you deal with that? Apart from that, there are strategies. The most dangerous people are not the people who are in the forest. Honestly, that's just the brawn, that's the muscle. For all the noise Shekau was making, he's not the intelligence behind this whole thing. The more dangerous are the more intelligent ones, and those who have been able to infiltrate us here. So if there were moles in the time of Goodluck Jonathan, what gives you the assurance we still don't have moles in government till now?
What the president also, said recently, quoted to have said recently, that there are influential people here and there who are behind some of these activities that is going on. Even the IGP was also quoted to have said that they know the abductors and that they're going to go after them. Question then is, what are we waiting for?
Well, again, you're dealing with something very intelligent that has studied you, but its weakness is this. They don't have numbers on their side.
My question is along this line. Does that mean that one way or another, government is either permitting or conniving?
You see, I want to be very careful because the average Nigerian, when they listen to us talk like this, sometimes get very emotional. They keep attacking personalities, keep attacking people. We have a systemic problem. If we did not have a systemic problem, they would not be taking advantage. They would not be so opportunistic. So even if we made all the noise about one person or the other person, there's still a lot more work we need to do. For instance, I said to you, every nation of the world that has this problem, the first thing you build up is when you have like the balance of politics between two parties, you build up a bipartisan coalition. You make sure that everybody is on the same page. Now, as long as you allow them to separate you to the point of no return, they will always have the advantage. So there's a whole lot of work to be done that is not in the fields. Now, that is what we are neglecting, and that is why they are gaining advantage over us. We need to isolate them. In numbers, let me tell you first of all, you are dealing with something intelligent. What is the total? We have 200 million plus people in Nigeria, okay? What is the total number that you have in the Nigerian police force? You know the number. What is the total number that we have in the Nigerian army? You know the number. People have been watching us for a while. They saw that when we had engagements on 3-4 fronts, we had reached the limit of our security structure. So in a war like this, it is a war. You need to recognize it's a war. Let people know we're at war. It's a new type of war, not the old warfare, okay? It's a new war. And what we're going to do now is that we want to make all citizens, Muslims and Christians, across all divides, we want to come and work together to defend the future of our nation. You see, a politician thinks only about the next election. But right now, if Nigeria is going to survive, we are going to need statesmen, who think about the next generations. There will be no election. Let me tell you something. What I mentioned to you about the sheikh who is handling negotiations now, if he is the one, there are beautiful Islamic leaders in Nigeria who have integrity, who have a whole lot of things. We are not going to look at somebody who already is radicalized to pretend as if he is negotiating with radicals. Because once they succeed at that, there's no need for soft targets anymore. You now have standing armies all over the country, well located, infiltrating all your institutions. And when you deal with a person as clever as that sheikh, that chameleon, you're going to find out that his cohorts who are working and are morphing are going to work with him from across the entire world. And by the time they finish Nigeria, we will enter the fourth phase. No need for all this kidnapping one person or the other. All that we don't need anymore.
That's scary enough, really. Sincerely. Let me talk to Dr. Ehum. The former chief of army staff, said recently that, just as Pastor Thompson has also said here, military intervention is very minimal in this war as it is that we are engaging. It was in that conversation, he said, and I quote, "Military action is just one aspect, and this is one mistake we have been making. It is only the military that is seen to solve the issue of security challenges." He also said political, economic, and social factors were responsible for fueling the security challenge over the years, adding that those factors must be addressed. Development should be progressive, there should be roads everywhere, employment, schools, hospitals. He went on and on. If this was known to us as critical element in the fight in fighting this war, what then is the gap?
Well, thank you, Mr. Makinde. Nigeria has not fought any wars against Cameroon or Chad or Libya or whoever. We've not fought any. Nigeria has only been involved in peacekeeping missions, PKOs, here and there. We were involved in the Congo many years ago with Patrice Lumumba and all that. So that's all we've had. The military has really been more a domestic animal, making coups and counter coups. And more recently, since 2009, becoming involved in fighting insurgencies and terrorism. So I think I really beg to disagree very vehemently with the former chief of army staff. I think that's just an excuse for not being able to bring this conflict to an end the way it should have been brought to an end. I think that what happened there was that this is an asymmetrical warfare, just like you hear Ladi saying there. And there are things you need good, I don't know how to say, you need good thinking going into it. Okay, yes, I've described it to you before. Even Mr. Makinde, who spoke a few weeks ago, you need structured analytical thinking going into crafting strategies and policies for this kind of conflict. You don't need what we call intuitive thinking, the way my grandfather did it, which is what we have tended to do. We have tended to see this conflict as a conventional conflict. Now they say it's asymmetrical, but how have we retooled ourselves to deal with the asymmetrical dimensions of this conflict using intellectual tools? So, well, they've done some things, certainly. They've put in the Nigeria Army Resource Center.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've got to wind down now. So I need to take your parting shot in just half a minute.
Thank you very much. Well, I think this crisis is not insurmountable. I guess people say I'm an eternal optimist. It's not insurmountable. It can be surmounted, but you need the right tools for the job. You cannot use your finger to open, to unscrew a screw. You need a screwdriver. That is the
Pastor
point.
Ladi, your parting shot.
Well, I agree with him. I think that once we get it right, in a matter of months, we'll reduce this thing by at least 75%. Only that we need to engage the entire nation.
Thank you very much, Pastor Ladi Thompson. And we had Ona Ekomo, who joined us via Zoom, both security consultants. Thank you very much for coming to share your thoughts with us this morning. Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.
Joining us this morning again. Our next conversation is pretty much a potpourri of sorts. The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture joins us this morning, Chevening Mohammed. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Oh, Alhaji. I would have added a chief or a doctor.
No, just Alhaji.
Well, certainly, it's very overwhelming and intimidating times. I should just ask you, I mean, when you look at the front pages of the dailies and you get security reports and you see all these issues, you discuss them, federal level, state level, must be overwhelming. How are you taking them on board?
Well, thank you. You see, tough times don't last. But you have tough policies and good policies you overcome. Yes, every morning you wake up to screaming headlines about the state of the economy, about the state of the nation's security. But because you are involved, you know they are not as bad as it's been portrayed. And because you know that the government is working day and night to overcome these challenges, you are not terribly alarmed. The most important thing is for you to remain focused and not be distracted, because we did not get here overnight, and we're not going to live there overnight in one day. So the important thing is, what is government doing to contain these challenges? What's government doing to tame insecurity? What's government doing to ensure the safety of life and property? What's government doing to ensure that livelihoods are secured? These are the issues that engage government every day, at the ministerial level, parliamentary level, or at the level of the executive council.
Well, talking about those issues, the question then is, what is government doing? you remember, of course, was while the president was in Kankara, that's 344 or thereabout children were abducted. It was when the army chiefs were in or around in the neighborhood of Niger State that the Kagara boys were also abducted. And so to a number of people, it's like an affront on the part of the bandits. Do your worst. So question then is, as you said, if government is doing something to tame this tide, what is government doing?
Well, you see, bandits, terrorists all over the world, they work on psychology of people. Deliberately, they go and target, children and women, because that is what was going to attract a lot of global outcry. And that's exactly what the bandits do all over the world. That's what happened during the, Dapchi girls' abduction or the Kankara schoolboys, abduction. Now, but the important thing is, what does government do? What is government doing? See, the government has put in place all along various strategies to contain banditry, to fight insurgency, to fight kidnapping. Some of these measures are kinetic, some are non-kinetic. You see, we should look back and ask ourselves, how did we get where we got to? Like I said earlier, we didn't get there overnight, and that's why it's difficult to get out in one day. Now, so you look at what are the social, economic, and political issues that must have given rise to banditry, to kidnapping. And we always say criminality in any form is abhorred, but in any form will not be tolerated by government. But at the same time, government also has a duty to look at the underlying causes of some of this criminality in order to, address them. As you know, I was in Mina with my colleagues, the ministers of Interior and Police Affairs, the IG, and the National Security Advisor on Wednesday to get the first-hand information on the abduction of these Kagera schoolboys. And I can tell you, as of today, that the government is on top of the matter. It's not, the strategy government is employing is not the subject matter of a television discussion, but we're employing all means.
Does this means include ransom paying?
You see, like I said, you employ kinetic and non-kinetic. You don't throw away invitation to treat or to engage. But your overall strategy, you keep to your chest.
No. Sorry, Alero. The question then, because there are rumors out there, I'm sure you are always taking those on, that government paid ransom for the Kankara boys and is contemplating paying ransom for the Kagara.
I can say categorically that no penny was paid for the Kankara boys, none was paid for the Dapchi girls. You see, all these conspiracy theories about ransom is nothing but conspiracy theory.
But when you say that all options are on the table, does the options include paying ransom for the Kagara boys?
No.
Okay, Honorable Minister, you kept saying we didn't get here in one day. Okay, so while we were getting here, government was there. And what was government doing all the time till we got to this stage? If we are prepared to negotiate, that means we know who these people are. Why don't we bring them to book as example to others, to deter others?
Like I said, criminality in any form will not be tolerated by this government. When I say we didn't get here overnight, what I meant actually is that what we're witnessing today, be it herdsmen famous clashes, be it insurgency, be it kidnapping, be it it's built up gradually over many years. And there are certain factors which are even beyond the human capacity that led us here. Now, I will talk about climate change, for instance. Because whatever you see mostly between farmers and herders is largely a scramble for dwindling resources, for water, for grazing land, for farming land. Lake Chad, that used to support 7 African countries, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Central African Republic, Niger, Benin Republic, has lost 90% of its water surface in the last 50 years, which means that over 7 million, people that used to benefit, it's about 20 million people that used to benefit from that Lake Chad basin have to move southwards. Then there's the issue of urbanization. When I was growing up, there were over 400, ranches and grazing reserves all over Nigeria. Urbanization took over. And most areas which were meant for either grazing reserve or ranches have been taken over by urbanization. Then there's the issue of the wars all along the Sahel. And we are today, grappling with the issue of smuggling, importation of light arms and things like that. That's why you see today herdsmen with sophisticated weapons. You see bandits with sophisticated weapons. But make no mistake about it, most of these herdsmen are not even from Nigeria. You see, the ECOWAS protocol allows transhumance between all the ECOWAS countries. And that is why we are thinking of seriously reviewing the ECOWAS protocol in that respect. Because what we found out today is that a lot of criminality has been introduced into this, into these herdsmen and herders, transhumance. Yeah. So when I say that we didn't get there today, what I mean is that our approach should be to see how can we rectify those issues that have led us here. I spoke about the climate change. You can see that since the administration came on board, we have been in the front line of coordinating the activities of not just our region, the whole world, to ensure that the Lake Chad is refilled, and from the Congo basin. It's a very complex transaction, because until you get back that volume of water, you will not be able to stop migration of people. Then the issue of smuggling of light arms, small arms and light armaments, is a very serious issue, and it has to do with border control, and it also has to do with even more than border control. Like I think I explained at a particular forum that if you go and build your house in a slum as a rich man, the poor people will not allow you to rest. That's the problem we have with most of our smuggling here. We are surrounded by countries that are either poor or they are landlocked. So we say we want to develop agricultural, food security and agricultural, self-sufficiency. So we are encouraging our farmers to grow, rice, grow maize, cassava, and we are stopping importation of, rice. But our neighbor, the Republic, says no. We make our living from the duty we collect from ports. So while we are charging 70%, duty on rice, they will charge 5%. So all the rice smugglers from Thailand, everywhere in the world, will come to Benin Republic. But that rice is destined for Nigeria. So we need this. We need to start thinking and say, look, Benin Republic, for instance, how much do you make in a year from your port charges, from the duties paid on rice? Say $100 million. Fine. We pay $100 million, but we must not see 1 grain of rice. And then we look at what is the benefit of that $100 million to Benin Republic. It means we are going to increase our farm production. We're going to have food security. We employ more people. These are the issues that we are considering. So that's why I said we must start thinking out of the box. Smuggling everywhere is the same. You remember the former president of the US, he was so frustrated he had to say he was going to build a wall between Mexico and the US. So this is why I say that we need to think out of the box. And we need to lower tension, lower the temperature. And that's I'm glad about what I see happening in the last few days when I saw governors in the Southwest meeting with different cultural organizations, Miyetti Allah, the Yoruba people, and everybody coming to the conclusion, listen, we are in a federation, we're in a country. We cannot keep giving, quick notice to anybody. But whoever comes to live in your community must respect the tradition, the values, and the most of the people. We will live together, and we must, have the mechanism to resolve our differences.
That takes me to what you said earlier about free movement of persons in the ECOWAS region.
Yes.
Fine, and you also mentioned the wall, the famous Mexican wall.
Yeah.
I mean, is it not time for us to begin to look at those porous borders? Because you are free to move around in the ECOWAS, but you're free to move around with documentation. We don't enter Ghana without our passports.
No, you see, I was talking about transhumance. You see, even for the ECOWAS citizens, they enter with their passports here. That's why I said that there's probably need to even review the ECOWAS, protocol about transhumance.
Yeah.
It's probably, and that's why I kept saying, you see, if you are a country like Nigeria, and for whatever our challenges are, we are a very unique, country, and we are very, very strong and powerful country. But when you look at a country like Niger, you look at a country like Chad, look at a country like Burkina Faso, that's landlocked. They need access to the sea. And this is why people are saying, oh, why is Nigerian government investing money building a railroad from Kano to Maradi? And our answer is very simple. You see, when you build a train from Kano to Katsina to Maradi, what are you doing? Number one, the entire rail project is about 284 kilometers. We only extended it to 25 kilometers to the Maradi city. Why? Because we know Niger Republic is landlocked. So we can now, by having that train services up to Maradi, encourage them to import through Nigerian ports. That's interesting. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You've raised some issues here,
yes.
And of course you know that there are many questions about that from the people that the government is in charge of. But let's take a short break to continue this conversation after these messages. Please stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. Alhaji Lai Mohammed is still with us here this morning, Minister of Information and Culture. Well, Alhaji, you started by telling us that there are so many reasons, so many things that are responsible for the insecurity we have on our hands. And we have also been told by the former Chief of Army Staff, Chukwuka Tai, that military solution is not the only one. And you have referenced some of them. He talked about political, economic, and social factors being responsible for fueling the security challenge, and that we should expand development all across the nation. The question then is, because if we do not take care of these elements that you have mentioned, it would seem like we're just partying the issues that we have on our hands. So what's the plan? And is there a timeline for ending this insurgency, this multifaceted, hydra-headed security challenges we have on our hands? Is there a timeline?
You see, all over the country today, you have several, operations going on, either to check banditry, to check kidnapping or insurgency, or even in some states south of this, in the southern part of Nigeria, you also have information. You also have operations to check cultism, to check smuggling. The security, military and police are daily battling and grappling with issues of insecurity. Unfortunately, when bandits are neutralized or cultists are arrested, or it doesn't make the kind of headline that the kidnapping of children would make. But I want to assure Nigerians that the security apparatus is constantly being re-engineered and being re-energized to adapt to the changing insecurity challenges we're facing all over the country.
Okay.
Wewa says, of what benefit is ECOWAS? I think we should exit the bloc if it is making us insecure.
Well, like I said earlier, we cannot throw out the baby with the bathwater. There are probably certain protocols of ECOWAS that we need to review, especially as affects these transhumans. We need to review, especially as affects the security challenges we are facing. And that is why there are clauses for the reviewing of these protocols.
Are we taking steps towards that already?
Of course, this is why we're discussing it. Yes, we are aware of the challenges that this poses, and at the appropriate level, yes, we are thinking about reviewing some of these protocols.
Well, one other thing, of course, with ECOWAS protocol, we have to be talking about intervention of state governments because it is the states that border other nations on behalf of Nigeria. So there are calls, even on the front pages of some of the papers today, as have been previously, calls by governors for state police to try as much as possible to manage the security challenge. Of course, you know that there is that talk among so many people that centrally managing the police structure hasn't helped, is not helping, and may not help to solve the problem completely. What government's take on state police has been campaigned and canvassed for by the governors?
I think the issue of security, like politics, is very local, in the sense that you cannot secure a place effectively without the collaboration and support of the community. And that is why the federal government is supporting community policing. Community policing, what it means is actually, getting the participation of the community in policing. You see, when you look at an area like my street, for instance, everybody knows who his neighbors are. And it's easier. You know those who don't go to work in your area. You know those who spend all the day drinking. And so it's easier for you to secure your area from the information that you get from the community, people living in that community. Now, this is why the federal government is completely 100% to support community policing. The structure it will take is evolving gradually. But clearly, you need community input in policing.
But the governors are asking for state police so that it is not centrally managed from the center, but the charged affairs are the governors of each of the states, not just community policing.
Well, I've had that. We've reasoned, and what we're saying is that there might not be this radical change from what we have now to state police. But going through community policing might be the way to eventually end up, with that.
Well, at the heart of all of these insecurity challenges, as have been posited by some, even the police system, the first PRO had said that much of the banditry that we have are economic in nature, indicating that will have an economic challenge, inequality, if you want to say it that way. So talking about the economy, part of course, which is central to the government of the day, what is the plan to boost the economy, so to speak? Because we have just been told that last quarter, Nigeria exited recession by 0.11%. Exited recession. But then the growth, population growth, is much higher than that. So even if we exit recession at this particular level that we have, or even increase it to 2 or 3% growth, we still haven't matched up to the 6% population growth. So what's the plan to expedite action in that regard?
You see, the truth of the matter is that this administration in particular has done so much to stabilize the states, especially socially and politically. You see, we've forgotten that prior to 2015, 27 states in the Federation were unable to pay worker salaries. It was this administration that bailed out those 27 states. And when we started in 2015, some of the states had no money for infrastructure. This administration gave 10 billion naira to every state to start infrastructure. When we noticed that there was a decline in revenue as a result of the poor performance of crude, this government gave budgetary support to each state, 1 billion naira a month for 8 months, and 800 million naira a month for another 8 months, just to stabilize. Otherwise, most of the states would have been completely unviable. Again, it is this administration, to stabilize the states, that gave back to states their own portion of the Paris Club, debt forgiveness. Some states got as much as 100 billion, some 40 billion. You see, don't forget that it's also this administration that refunded back to all the states money that they spent in developing or maintaining, other building federal government roads in their states. And again, some states got as much as 40 billion, some, 80 billion. Now, when you talk about so I just try to tell you that, but for this administration and the bailout it has brought to states, many states today would have been bankrupt. Now, coming to the issue of our exiting recession, we did not exit recession by accident. It was because of the hard work, the foresight, and the planning of government. Don't forget that by March this year, Mr. President set up the Economic Sustainability Committee when we started seeing the impact of the COVID-19. And they came up with this Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan to ensure that we do not feel much the impact of COVID-19. See, when you talk about GDP, it is the total sum of the value of your services and goods. So clearly, if there's a lockdown, you cannot go to work, which happened all over the world, there was going to be, there's bound to be a recession.
Okay.
Now, what we did was that we pumped money into the system. How did we do so? We did so by creating jobs. We did so by 3 major, programs. The first is the 1,000 jobs of public works that was given to each local government. And we have 774 local governments in the Federation. So when you have 774 young men working on public works on roads, it goes a lot to boost the economy. There's what we call Survivor Fund, which the Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment supervised. Because one of the things that we say we must do is that we must prevent loss of jobs, we must create new ones, and we must make sure that, micro micro,
MSMEs.
medium SM do not collapse. So what you do with survival funds, we ask companies to employ between 5 and 50 people. We give them payroll support for about 3 months. And that payroll support went to about 500 small, 500,000 SMEs.
Okay.
Then we also did what we called a one-off grant, whereby we give 30,000 naira to artisans, to hairdressers, to mechanics, to keke and this went to about 333,000 such individuals.
Well, Honorable Minister, you know, these are very, wonderful figures. The challenge there is what's the communication, or how do people take it on board when they listen to you right now? And you've talked about the MSMEs, the economic sustainability plans, and lofty, no doubt, but the communication of those things, along with so many other things, has been a challenge. For instance, a good number of people are asking, where in the world is the National Orientation Agency? Why is it that we do not, hear all the things that they used to do before they became National Orientation Agency, when they were still MAMSA, mobilizing the country along a particular line? So what's happening to national orientation from the agency that is supposed to be doing it?
You see, when MAMSA, when it was created under the military for a purpose, the demands and imperatives of that time completely different from those of today. Now, I can tell you that NOA is very active, and when you follow the absolutely, when you follow the fight against COVID-19, whether even on your own channels, on your own television channel, you find out that NOA is the agency that is actually reaching the grassroots in the prevention of COVID-19, in ensuring that, non-pharmaceutical interventions are adhered to. And I dare say that not just because I'm Minister of Information, I see my colleagues here daily telling Nigerians exactly what we have done in the areas of infrastructure. My colleague, the Right Honorable Amechi, was here last Sunday. I know my colleagues are everywhere talking about what we are doing in MSMEs, apart from what I do. So if anybody claims that the efforts of government are not being duly reported, I don't think it's very fair, because I watch all programs.
It's not a function of whether or not it's being done. It's the challenge of whether or not it's being felt.
No, that's a different ball game. You see, what we are saying is that you are saying that you do not hear what government is doing. And I say, no. Why am I here today, for instance? I'll be in Bond FM tomorrow. Now, what we've done is that we've even gone further to ensure that our colleagues who speak Hausa, they appear on programs, Hausa speaking, programs. Those who speak Yoruba do the same. I'm going to Bond FM tomorrow because I speak Yoruba to talk about the achievement of the administration.
Okay, Alaji.
Yeah, but you see, when you do, like I say, you see, bad news travel faster. Bad news will grab the headlines. But daily, I'm sure if you go to other channels, you'll see one of my colleagues. When I left here, this morning I was talking to my colleague, the Minister of State Budget Planning. He's in Imo. He was in Imo yesterday, he slept in Enugu yesterday, inspecting the rural roads and also addressing these issues.
Okay, Alaji. It's okay to go into recession and come out of recession. All that to the common man on the street is just grammar. Because to him, his salary does not take him home. One tatashe is 100 naira. A bag of rice, which he paid, how much? 15,000 for in 2015. He now has to pay 30,000 naira for. So, as far as he's concerned, government is just making his life more difficult. His salary is still minimum wage of 30,000 naira, but he's having to pay so much more for everything. And in the course of this week, We heard talk again about increasing the price of fuel. So all the common man seems to have heard since this APC government came to power is just increasing price of everything. And you're telling him we've come out of recession. Fantastic. How does that help me?
You see, Alero, one is recession, or you say pandemic. It affects every part of the world. The average American today, there are about 40 million Americans today who are out of job. Many of many of them do not even know how they're going to pay their next, mortgage. Their next mortgage. We must accept that the world is going through a very difficult time, and Nigeria is not an exception. What are the sources of your revenue? Crude oil, taxation. Crude oil is just inching up now, but we've also suffered a decrease from 1.72 billion, from 1.72 million barrels a day. We are now on 1.67 million barrels a day, which means we have lost about 500,000 barrels, already. Now, the pandemic has affected our ability to produce goods or services. In the last 4 or 5 months, officers on grade level 12 and above have been working from home. And this has also gone out in many states of the Federation. Despite this, we have to contend with security challenges, banditry, kidnapping, insurgency. Now, we just must admit that the country is going through tough times. But what does government do? This is why government came up with this survival, plans. This is why the government came up with the economic sustainable plan. This is why the government is investing more in infrastructure and employing more and more people. If you invest in infrastructure, at the end of the day, cost of products will come down. If you invest in infrastructure, you're able to employ more people. But what happens is that what Nigeria is going through is not unique. It's not exceptional to Nigeria. We are going through very tough times.
Even before the pandemic.
There's no way in the world that prices are not going up. This is what I'm saying. You see, I just want you to give me an example of a country where the prices have been stable. It's not possible. And you see, when you are doing the same thing with 1/3 of what used to be your resources, and like you said today, we talk about population explosion. And this is another issue that Nigerians are taking into recognition. That
which is not unknown to government. Consequently, government ought to plan along the line.
Ayo, how do I plan on the number of children you are going to have? These issues are cultural, are religious. I mean, we know what we are facing in issue of, trying to control population. But this is why...
What is government doing about controlling population?
All you can do is advocacy. Alero, I can't tell you how many children you can have.
Well, China did. China did.
Oh, yes. And if China tries it now to fail, China did it in the ancient time. China did it under what kind of government? Look, I was shocked yesterday. We were discussing this, population explosion. So he told me, his driver has 4 wives and 30 children. His driver. Then so what do you do? You see, in this context, you must see Chinese government is facing. You can only do advocacy.
Okay.
So look, there are some religious beliefs that say it is a sin, it's ungodly for you to even, adopt or embark on a family planning.
Okay.
So these are issues that you...
Well, there are so many issues, definitely, Honorable Minister.
Surrounding the issue of population explosion. All I'm saying is that government has to do more with less. And these are the challenges we are facing.
And that government took that job. Well, we really have to let him go now.
Okay. See, we are not complaining, we're explaining.
Okay.
Alaji,
right.
Austin says that you are claiming that that the government is encouraging farming. Meanwhile, people cannot access their farm due to insecurity. Invariably, government is encouraging people to go into their farms and die.
Well, that's a very simplistic way to look at it. Yes, I told you also how many military formations, security formations are everywhere in the country to ensure that banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, insurgency is checked. But it is, we admit, and this is why we are doing everything possible to ensure the safety of lives, freedom of movement of people. Because yes, if there's insecurity, there can be agriculture. And this is why you must appreciate what the government is doing to ensure that we return every part of this country into a secured and safe place.
And people are also looking to government to understand what they are going through, just as Alero has said, and so many other on Twitter, you know, when you are able to. But we have to thank you right now.
Last one, quickly, please. Pastor Sakimboyewa says the USA that Alhaji Mohammed is referring to has not stopped bailing out its citizens.
Yes, but you see,
how much bailing out is this government doing?
I've just told you the bailing that we've done.
Survival fund?
God bless you.
Survival fund. How many people?
Survival fund went to 500, MSMEs, 500,000.
But government also says that we have about
million or so.
No, MSMEs. I didn't say individual. MSMEs.
Yeah, he's talking about individuals.
No. You see, who are the people in MSMEs? We did it to ensure that they do not retrench people. That's a form of bailout. And our conditional cash transfer today is it reaches 3.6 million people.
But there are 100 and anyway, we could go on and on.
Yes.
But there are 100 million, poor Nigerians according to federal government's data. But Alhaji, we have to let you go.
No. I agree with it, but I'm just I can give figures. I say we have honestly we have conditional cash transfer that reaches about 3.6 million people. We have the Empower. Thank you. We have the farmer money. We have the market money. We have trader money. And this reaches millions of people. But you see, people that are benefiting are not likely to come out and say they are benefiting. And that is why we arranged for a testimony series, sometimes in 2018, to those, for Nigerians to hear from those who are benefiting.
Well, the question someone on Twitter might be asking you is, are they up to 10 million that are benefiting? Don't answer the question.
I will answer the There are more than 10 million. I will answer that. There are more than 10 million. I will say that.
Alhaji Lai Mohammed is Honorable Minister of Information and Culture of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Austin, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Okay. So, Sunrise continues in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, thank you again for staying with us on Sunrise this morning. It's time to talk a little more about the economy. You heard the news that the National Bureau of Statistics announced that Nigeria has emerged from recession. We slipped into recession under the weight of the coronavirus pandemic and falling oil prices last year, and we got news that we're out of recession by 0.11%.
Yes. They'll be telling us what it means to the man on the street. That's all that's important to him.
Absolutely.
Because he's having to pay a lot more for what he eats. That's basic. He needs to eat, and he's paying a lot more for it. And you're telling him, okay, the economy has come out of recession. Duh.
Or is it recession or reception? But we'll come to more of that. Dr. Olusegun Omisaki is here with us. He's Chief Economist, Nigeria Economic Summit Group, as well as Akpan Ekpo, who is a professor of economics and public policy at the University of Uyo. He is also chairman, Foundation for Economic Research and Training in Lagos. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. So, Dr. Omisaki, we're out of recession, but people are not yet at the reception.
What does it mean?
I think
because the reception is where you have the meal, right?
Yes, yeah. It's always a very tough question, even for the economist.
Even for an economist.
Yeah, when you are faced with what does it mean for the common man?
Exactly.
It's like trying to put you on spot, But
that's what the common man wants to know.
Yeah, but again, we need to also look at the definition of the common man. Everybody is common. We are all in this economy together.
Okay.
So let's start from what happened, actually.
we're out of recession. This is and by 0.1%, where marginal, but in the context, we are at least out of the.
And we have moved towards positive.
Yeah, we have moved toward the positive territory. So if we can do better, we can be on a better path, trajectory, and then beginning to see the impact on the common man and the rest. But if we don't get out of this, it's going to be worse, even for the common man. And what it means is that now our productive capacity, our employment, production, consumption seems to be, becoming much more better. And that is just a simple definition of what it means. The productive activities have resumed. But to dissect everything down to how it affects common man, then that's another debate.
And that's why you are here. Well, Prof, the figures aren't, well, the recession figures might have inched up a little.
Yeah.
Inched. But the prices of commodities are skyrocketing. They're in speedboats.
Yes. Yeah.
Out of the reach of the common man.
Yes.
So
that's why for me it's not yet uhuru.
It wasn't uhuru,
Yes.
even before
See,
we went into the recession.
People forget that before we got the recession, the economy itself was not doing too well.
Exactly.
Before the pandemic came up and the sharp decline in oil revenue, we were still not doing well. People forget that. We're what the economists call the stage of stagflation. Okay? We're rising unemployment by 30% or so. We're rising inflation. And today we know that inflation is about 16%, for food 20%. You put all this on, you put all together with the so-called GDP growth rate, okay? So the pandemic and the sharp decline in oil revenue made things worse, okay? But as I said, technically, once the economy shows a positive sign, no matter how little, I said technically, you are getting out of a recession. That is, you are now recovering.
Yeah.
For me, 0.1 is so negligible. But in the technical sense, you are recovering. If you can stay on that path, maybe you can improve the growth.
Prof,
The point is that the point is that even if you grow, let me put it this way, that growth rate is so much less than the population growth rate, okay? And for the whole year of 2020, it has confirmed that we are in a recession of almost 2% for 2020. This is what you are saying in the fourth quarter, okay? So how it affects the common man is the point he's making. But the issue is that once you're on that recovery path, and government does certain things, okay, the common man, however you define it, will begin to have some impact.
But the challenge there, Prof, is that as Dr. Mishaki has struggled to do, that conversation, that communication hasn't drilled down, because the question a number of people will be asking in their heads is, where did they get the figures from? Because most certainly the feeling is that the figures didn't come from the streets. It didn't come from Mile 12 Market or from Sabongeri Market in Kano. It didn't come from the realities that people encounter on a daily basis.
No, well, actually, the MBA does a survey.
Yeah.
A survey of relevant organizations, okay? Which may at times even include persons, okay? So they do a survey. It doesn't drop off the sky those figures.
Yes.
And then when they have those figures, they now go through a technical process to arrive at these numbers, okay? You may be right by saying, I heard you saying that the price of Gary has gone up and this. So you have to put that you have to tie that GDP recovery rate with inflation, with unemployment, to say that things are not.
So if we tie those figures down, just as you
If you
said,
tie it down, that means, in my view, the common man, or what I call the poor, is not gaining anything from the economy for now.
Yeah.
Because when you are in a recession, high inflation, the poor suffers more. He has less purchasing power. The rich can draw on savings to survive for a while. But if you stretch it longer, everybody gets to suffer, in quote. short, medium term, the poor suffers a lot, or what you call the common man. That's the question. As I'm saying, that don't look at, for me, GDP as an economy is important, but it's not the only measure.
Yeah.
Okay? Actually, you are talking about even the growth rate. What if you put it per capita? Does that mean that that person has that money? If you take about, because our GDP in nominal terms, or even real terms, has increased.
Yes.
If you divide it by the population, it means that each person has that money. But that's not the case. But it gives you a basis for doing analysis, so that going forward, everybody will benefit.
It actually shows that on the per capita, just like what Prof was saying, the per capita level, you have about, each person has about 2,500 so US dollar.
Yeah.
So if you convert that to
really?
either black or white or
yeah.
blue market, let's say by 390, the official, you have an average of, say, 1 million naira per year. See, whether GDP per capita or GDP, it doesn't, you need another narrative, another discussion as to the development, as to what happens to inclusive growth, are people being employed, is the inflation rate being stable and the rest. So the point I wanted to raise the other time when you said, oh, the data may not come from the people, we all feel that. But the question is, when the MBS released that we're in recession, why didn't we debate that and say, no, we are not in recession because you didn't take the data from me? We claim that.
Doctor.
But we are how? We say, no, me, I'm still in the recession.
When they
Common man, for instance, does not know the meaning of recession.
One.
He is at the point where he was when you said we were not in a recession.
Yes.
He's still at that point.
Yes.
So all this your talk doesn't mean anything to him.
I accept that, and it's global. Even in the advanced country, nobody is going to come to everybody's room or house and say, oh yeah, let me know what's happening. It's going to be sampling.
Yes.
I wish the MBS boss, they say, but the fact is not even the credibility of data, but how those pronouncements affects an average, and Prof has been able to put something down. So let's look at an average life. You wake up in the morning, an informal person, you go to the market, or you are a downfall driver, or whatever you do. The first thing that meets you on the road is what at the point of purchasing something, inflation. And that is why I feel inflation is the most critical indicator that you can look into and say, if I want to affect the average man, let me look at how his savings, the value of savings is relatively stable, or what he buys today is more or less the same tomorrow. But inflation has left us behind.
You spoke about per capita, and you mentioned $2,500
no, if you have
year. Do you think the woman selling a car on the side of the road makes that much in 1 year?
Exactly. That's the point. You know, when we say per capita, it doesn't mean because not everybody actually.
No, it's an average. It's an average.
It's like you have the richest man in Africa in Nigeria.
Yes.
Right? And
you also have the poorest man in Africa.
In Nigeria. So now, assuming you have one person who is rich, who earns about 5 million per month, and you have 10,000 people that earns maybe 1 or 2 naira. You say, okay, what is the per cap? What is the average? The average will be like something like maybe 2 million or so. But
it's an average measure.
2 million.
You guys are just confusing me.
You're right, doctor. It's not correct. It cannot be correct.
And that is why the discussion has gone beyond GDP as a measure. That is the most convenient indicator that you can use. But people talk to other developmental indicators like inclusive growth, like opportunities for employment. These are the real indicators that you can use.
Don't exist.
You see, in other words, you can grow, and yet you're not developing. Yes, you can. GDP can grow by
like bad news.
Yes, GDP can grow by 6%, yet you still have high unemployment. You see, have inflation.
We experienced that.
You have to look at other social indicators.
Yes.
For example, the way I say, you have to ask, do people have access to even running water?
No.
Who have access to quality education?
No.
Who have access to quality health?
No.
All these issues are part of the package.
So then,
okay. So that's why he's saying that GDP fine, but you must look at other indices to say that a country is doing well or the citizens are doing well.
Prof, so if we look at other figures, the inflation figures, the per capita income figures, and so many other economic figures, can we say that we actually are out of a recession?
That's why I use the word technically.
Yeah.
As an economist, I said technically, we are on a recovery path.
Okay.
Okay? But
you
let me
also said
let me
something-
let me make a point.
Just a moment.
Yes.
You also said the other time that we were growing at something in the region of 2-3% GDP even before this
Yeah.
technical recession
Yeah.
of the third
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the population growth was twice or double that figure of
Yeah.
our GDP at the time.
Right.
So we could say that even then, technically,
Yeah.
we were in a recession.
The way we define it is that you have to have two consecutive quarters of negative growth for you to enter recession.
Okay.
But yes, you have
Two
to have.
quarters.
I
Yes,
I understand that.
Yes,
I get that.
But
That
let
is
me say, let me-
that's the economic language.
Let me make a point also.
But you haven't answered my question.
I've answered, but let me make a point. Research has shown that an economy has to grow at least double digit or more, 10% or more, sustained for about 15 years to have a dent on poverty,
Wow.
poverty reduction. So you could see that we are
So
still,
we haven't even started.
we haven't arrived, in my view. You might disagree with me.
No. Well, it's obvious,
15
really.
years.
Sustainable. That is, you sustain about 10, 15
Double-
years. Yes, 10% and above. That is why our Vision 2020 years ago said Nigeria we should grow double digit, sustain for a long time. That thing was put together in 2009. And they said by 2020, we'll be one of the world's 20, let's say, yes. So these are some of the issues. And when we say an economy is doing well, we're not saying everybody is doing well, but at least, in my view, at least 80% should be doing okay.
Now, I'm glad you brought up that plan, you know, all these
Development plans.
development plans that we have.
Yeah.
Do you really think that we have our eyes on that ball and that we use them as goals to be achieved?
Unfortunately, no. I think over time, the nature of development plans in Nigeria has become what you need, a report or a paper you need to just print out for people to just know, oh, we've planned for, in those days, and I'm profits here, when you have real developmental plan in Nigeria, the idea, the concept, the input, and the connection between implementation is there. But now we are quick to release reports. Everything is reports. Yeah, GPM is just report.
Yeah.
But the implementation is the gap is so wide. The government might not even know what is in that report or the capacity, whether we need to borrow. So you can have report, and it's happening in most of these developing countries. Everybody release reports anyhow.
Who puts up the report if not the government?
When we had plans, when we had genuine plans, we're not doing badly until we jettison planning.
On a lighter note, let me remind you of a slogan in the 90s.
Yes.
Mercedes for all by the year 2000. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Everything for all, housing for all by the year 2000.
Yes.
Everything was the magic year 2000. And here
If
we are now.
if we implement our plans properly, we're making progress. You're saying.
We've been having
They just
national
report.
development plans for decades, Prof.
Well, I won't say for decades, but we've been having.
We have been having development plans
Yes,
for decades,
yes.
from as far back as even pre-colonial. There were development plans that, they say, okay, from this decade to this decade, development plan, this decade to this decade, development plan. And so over the years, we have been having development plans.
Yes.
So if you say, both of you are saying that we have development plans that are just paper tigers, does that mean that we even want to develop?
No, the point I was making is that we had plans and they were being implemented up to the early 80s, in my view. The 80-85 plan was abandoned. Before then, we had plans. All these things you see in Lagos, all this infrastructure, they were based on those plans. Okay? Then they were abandoned by the military planning. Then the World Bank advised that we should get some planning at that time because planning was seen as tantamount to socialism. We abandoned planning. And since then, we've been having, later, we started having plans, but they were, as he was saying, they were mainly of reports. The plan, you're telling me, we had Vision 2010, perspective plan.
Yeah.
Vision 2000, Vision
we have
2010.
2020. We had agenda, some point
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
We had transformation agenda.
Yeah. Yes.
All those things we had. Even as we speak now, we are putting together.
We had here GP.
We have GP.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've been involved in all of these things, so we don't have time to discuss them. And then now we are doing the medium-term national development plan.
Yeah.
Okay. My view is that those plans are well articulated, but as he's saying, if they were implemented,
Yes.
So what's the implementation gap that we have? Because definitely, if we have an implementation plan, Dr. Mishaki, the plan would not just be a report. It would be something that we have a plan to not just note it, but to actually, get it off of the pages of a paper. What are the infrastructure deficits that have made it difficult, if not impossible, for our plans to see the light of day?
Yeah, just like Prof said, I think it's from the process. Planning, really, if you take the example from other developed or even developing countries, so emerging countries like China and the rest, planning isn't all about gathering ideas together. It starts with that, and it ends with the implementation. But unfortunately, the culture has always been, let's gather the idea of what the government should. And when you see a typical plan, you'll be saying the word, the government should, government should, government should, and it ends, right? And most developing countries, that's the problem. But if you look at the case of Indonesia and some of these Asian tigers, you even see how they make it legal. In other words, the Senate or the National Assembly will legislate that plan to mean this is not the plan of the present administration. It's not the plan of APC. When PDP comes or whoever comes later, they implement it.
Yeah.
Those elements are missing.
yeah, exactly.
Now we are planning for 2021 to 2025, and the guy told me that this plan has about 1 year lifeline now, because by next year another political stuff comes in. What if you get somebody there by 2023? Are you telling me it's going to continue with what had been planned before it was? So there are a lot of challenges.
Yes.
But despite that, I think if the government can be more focused when it comes to the implementation, you can still do a lot, even when you are not doing everything.
Yes.
So that's the essence of planning.
Prof, you said you have been part of these plans.
Yes,
and this gap was always there.
Yes, and the gaps were identified.
And
they were identified. Let me be honest, sometimes it's lack of capacity and political will. Political will.
Could you please decrypt this political will? I've heard it so...
No, it's very simple. Any government is in power. You see, for me, this is how government operates. If you're an advisor, you tell government, if you do A, this will happen. If you do B, if you do C. Then government looks at it and decides which one it wants to take. Government, in my view, does not, on paper, government represents all of us to reconcile our differences, okay? But in practice, that's not the case, in my view, from what I've seen over the years. I've been around for a very long time. Government, in my view, represents a particular group. Okay? Takes charge, has power, and uses that power in its self-interest. If it benefits the society, fine. That's the way I've seen it over the years. Okay? So, like now, for example,
If it doesn't, too bad.
the president might be honest about what he wants to do. People around him might have captured state power, use it for their interests. If, in so doing, for example, in Nigeria, we did those plans properly, and we build a large middle class, maybe we will not be saying these things.
Yeah.
Because there's no country that have poor people. But we have a large middle class, okay? Where they are, at least they're able to produce for society, then the economy will be doing well. But when you don't have that, but you still have a few people. For example, I was telling someone the other day, look, that I get amazed when I go to Abuja or Lagos Airport, and I see the number of private jets in a poor country.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, in a sense, we are doing well. Those who have bought those jets, they're Nigerians.
Yeah.
They've made money. Okay, so
One way or the other.
So when you say an economy is not doing well, you have to be very careful.
So, Prof,
Yeah.
looking at the trend now, because I'm sure you've analyzed the reasons why we have come out of this recession. And we're approaching the end of the first quarter. So second quarter will start in April. Do you see us going in the same trajectory and improving on this percentage?
Well, let me say
Coming out of
that
recession.
I didn't want to be too technical. Even the recession that we are talking of, maybe you will agree with me, the special type, but it's affecting both the demand and supply side of the economy. Because there was a total closure because of the pandemic. Everything was closed down, locked down, okay, not the typical demand side. So if we keep doing what we are doing, then we did open up. We open up. People start doing their businesses. And in fairness to government, certain things have been put in place. If you look at the economic sustainability plan, ESP, if those things are implemented, like the housing program in that ESP, the economy will be on a recovery path. Okay? We'll be on a recovery path. Let's not jettison the fact that if an economy grows, it's better for everybody. It's important.
Okay.
But if government does not do some of those things, we may fall back.
Recession.
And that will be difficult.
Well,
And the point, sorry, and the point is, historically, if you look at 2016 recession, you ask yourself, what was the problem?
Yes.
Purely oil.
Oil, yes, that's true.
And after we recovered, we spent about 5 quarters, very sluggish recovery. And from 2016 to now, we've had an average of 2% growth, 2016 to now.
Yeah.
So though we are coming out of this, even though the factors now are a little bit different, the COVID-19 and the rest, 2 factors. The drivers, the oil is doing better. The oil price is doing better.
Yes.
The COVID-19,
But production is reduced.
Because
of some of the OPEC plus agreement, but it's still
And
a
we
sign
still
when
haven't
the
learned
price.
our lesson, not to depend on oil.
No, you can't just learn it.
No, we've been saying that all the time.
If you don't plan,
Yes.
if you don't plan,
The pandemic has taught us not to rely on oil.
but we've refused.
How much was oil during the pandemic?
we refuse.
$20?
We refuse. We've been saying that for years, that we cannot depend on oil to run this economy. Because for simple reason, oil is a wasting asset. You don't control the price.
Yeah.
You don't control the output. Let us
Prof.
diversify the economy. Let us
Talking about
What we can control.
yes,
resources outside of oil.
Yeah, talking about diversifying, and we have just 30 seconds. We're already out of time. Dr. Omishaki, the ESP has that agriculture ambit.
Okay.
Do you think, giving due attention, giving due attention and focus, national focus on agriculture, do you think it is something that can replace oil for Nigeria?
No. You don't even need to complete that sentence. No. When we say agric in Nigeria, what do you mean? If you check what agric means, crop production.
Yeah.
Crop production as a subsector of agric controls more than 90% of output of agric. What food processing? Where is the linkage
that is the
between
definition of
agric and industry?
The value chain.
Other countries are doing better in agric and not just isolating agric. Cow everywhere, all those stuff. No, this is not just about cocoa.
But
This is about agric processing,
The
food
entire
processing,
food chain.
The entire
which
value
is
chain.
linked to the manufacturing sector. What happens to decline? This one, it's even normal for manufacturing sector to keep declining.
Yeah.
Doctor,
So-
does it mean anything if you are able to at least produce what you eat?
Yes.
So you don't have to import so much food. Does it make any difference?
I don't understand that concept of producing what you need. If you produce, right?
Yes.
What you are producing, do you really eat them? Kind of. We import a lot from, and it's not.
So, in other words, we are
importation.
not paying attention to what we should be
what you are
paying
saying
No, we
is
are
that
not.
we need to be at least be adequate in food production.
Okay.
We have to we call it food adequacy.
Yes.
Okay? Now, food sufficiency is that you have enough and then you have extra to export.
Okay.
but at least be adequate in your own country.
So we start from somewhere.
Yes.
We could continue this conversation. It's very, very exciting, but we are out of time now. We really have to go. Dr. Olusegun Mishakin is Chief Economist at Nigeria Economic Summit Group. Thank you so much for your time, as well as Akpan H. Ekpo, who is Professor of Economics and Public Policy, University of Uyo, as well as Chairman, Foundation for Economic Research and Training in Lagos. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We'll continue in a moment. Do stay with us.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We have a very full day today, and now we're going to go to Abuja to talk about the Chevening alumni program. You remember that a few months ago, the alumni was here telling us about an essay competition. Well, it has taken place, entries have come in, and winners have emerged. I'd like to welcome Professor Biodun Adeni to tell us more about this, and he's joining us from Abuja. Good morning, Professor.
Yeah, good morning, madam. Thanks for having me on once again.
Yes, the entries came in. Did they come pouring in?
Well, first, I think I just want to thank Channels Media Group, for the support you give us up to this stage. And special thanks goes to the chairman, Dr. John Momo, for his evergreen support, former president and present chairman of our board of trustees. We're indeed very grateful. I need also to thank Arise, your sister television station, Arise Television, and Cable Online News, for their support as well. Well, it's been exciting so far, very impressive, very enthusiastic entries, nearly about 1,400, and we had to go through a process, putting it down from that number to about 1,000, then to 500, then to 250, and eventually to 65. And now we have about 9 winners, And of course, the winners are also very instructive in the way it's spread across Nigerian institutions. We have, if you permit me, Samson Nayobami of University of Lagos, Folaranmi Oluwafemi, of Obafemi Awolowo University, Chidubem Oko of UNN, Olusegun Ogunwole of ABU, Victoria Jonah of Unical, Omolara of Ekiti State University, Florence David of Unical as well, Temita Fajobi of University of Ilorin, and Wisdom Owodelu of Alexi Kweme University. These ones, have been invited to an award ceremony on Thursday to be hosted by the British High Commission, Her Excellency, British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mrs. Katrina Lang. And it's going to be a showpiece event where we'll expect some of our biggest brands, notably Dr. John Momo, our biggest masquerades to be in attendance as well. But I think it's also very important for me to underscore the themes, that run through the presentation of the youth. One is that we saw an enthusiastic youth, who were very knowledgeable, very epistemic about their environment, and who are eager for change. Then secondly, we saw a set of entries, that were essentially evidence-based, research-based, showing the tendency or the leaning of the youth, to be learning-oriented, very engaging presentations, no doubt. And it just tells us that these youths, are looking forward to a better condition so that they can contribute their quota, to the development of this country. And second, and thirdly, we saw that there's nothing in it about migration among them, nothing passionate, it's just a construction, like an economic construction, an unfortunate economic construction, making them to look outwards in terms of the search for hope. If all things were right, ordinarily, this youth would not be looking towards irregular or illegal migration, as the case could be. Very exciting thing. And most importantly, before I stop in this introductory remark, is just to say that we saw a youth who were ready willing to contribute, from the angle of being the next set of human capacity, resource, waiting to be harnessed away from our hope on steel, on agriculture, and much else. Enthusiastic youths are simply waiting for a better environment, a better material condition, so that their anxieties can be mitigated. And of course, they can reinvest their hope in their motherland or fatherland, as the case could be.
Professor, you're so enthusiastic. You're not even giving us a chance to interject at all. Now, tell us about, now, first of all, how you have 9 finalists. How are you going to determine the first 3, for instance?
Oh, okay. The first 3 have already been determined. That's Samson of Unilag, Folaromi of OAU, and Chudubem of UNN. The remainder, are winning consolation prizes. You would discover that the entries are quite close in terms of substance, in terms of quality. And of course, it took the expertise of maybe more experienced professionals to be able to sift through these things. It was really very competitive, and it may be surprising as well to see that, the 4th person, there was a long debate debating, deciding on who the 3rd and the 4th was going to be, because they were very close, which made it all exciting. But of course, we are recognizing all of them. All the 9, at the end of the day, we're going to give them certificate of performance, as something that they can just take home with. But for the first 3, there are, some gift items that we've aligned, courtesy of the contributions, the support we've had from Channels Media Group, the British High Commission, and all other alumni members of the alumni group.
Professor, what was the general quality of the essays?
Good question. You will, you will note that the quality really is not too different from what we usually witness assessing young ones. Even the older ones in the academia these days, there is a huge temptation, to want to deviate from being original. A huge temptation because of the deluge of information around us. There hardly can there be a question that you'll be asking now that somebody can not just Google up and find an answer to it. So that temptation is there for people to look for the least option, Googling things up, coming up with an answer that you say, is predictable. But of course, evaluating these things, you know that it is not necessarily original. That's an overall picture, which is understandable. You find it among all cadre of scholars, not just the youth, all cadre of people who are going through different kinds of examination. But the onus is now on, the examiners, those who are evaluating it, to separate the wheat from the chaff. And of course, thank God for technology. There are now applications that can help you find out if a submission has been copied or not. Of course, we had a rubric. And of course, we also did some credit referencing check. Particularly, we used Turnitin. And Turnitin, of course, brought out so much similarity indexes, which we used to sift out those who probably have copied. But we understand these things as well. It's something that is part of the age that we are in. But it was also very gratifying that quite a number of these entries, were original. They were very creative. They were scintillating, and like we expected, many of them, they spoke from their innocence, point of view, and you appreciated them, for being true to themselves. And that's why a lot of them made it to the end, and of course, we were able to come out with eventual winners.
Professor Adeni, we just wish you all the best, and we wish you a successful event when you make your presentations to the winners of this program. Thank you very much for coming to give us the details of the Chevening Alumni Program. Sunrise will return to talk about pangolins in a minute, those endangered creatures. See you in a bit. Oh, Oh, that slide right there showed a pangolin, and my heart just went out to the population of pangolins left in the world. Well, it's World Pangolin Day. They have a whole day dedicated to them. That shows you how important they are. You may have seen that slide and thought to yourself, like my partner is looking at me now, like, what is she talking about? I mean,
I didn't say anything.
Pangolins, of all things, they have a whole day. Yes.
So we need a World Alera Day.
No, you don't.
Oh, really?
It's only one error. Yes, so we need a day to raise awareness about the mammals and the plight they face all over the world. Like in my country, pangolins are very tasty bushmeat. Well, you'll soon be hearing why you should leave them be, because they have a purpose in the scheme of things. To tell us about this purpose, it's my pleasure to welcome in our studio in Lagos the West Africa representative of Wild Aid, Linus Una.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Here.
And joining us via Zoom, we have the chair, Pangolin Conservation Guild of Nigeria Environment Wildlife, Professor Olajumoke Morenikeji. Good morning. Is the professor? Yes, she's there. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let me begin with you, Professor. A lot of people don't even know what pangolins are and their usefulness. Let's start from there.
Well, thank you. Pangolins are mammals. They are scaly. They are shy. They are sensitive. They are found in their own surviving and thriving in their own ecosystem or in the ecosystem. So we can say that pangolins are animals that have been hunted so much that it is driving them to the brink of extinction. They are eaten as a delicacy also in Nigeria, in Africa, and in China. They are only found on 2 continents, in Africa and in Asia. In Asia, in China especially, they are used in traditional medicine. So we see that the population of pangolins in Asia has dwindled. So we now have pangolins being taken away from Africa to Asia. Okay, so this is affecting the population of pangolins that we have in Africa. Now, the thing that is very, very distressing is the fact that Nigeria is now serving as a hub of pangolin trafficking, where other African countries use our borders to take pangolins out of Africa. So we have been labeled as a transit hub, as the most, a hub that is really, really thriving as a place where pangolins are taken away to other parts of the world. So that is the label that we have as Nigerians now, or as a country. And that is why we are concerned about the animals being taken away from our country and from Africa.
Now, Linus, why are pangolins so important that we need a special day to create awareness for their survival?
Like the professor rightly mentioned, before it used to be ivories, but over the past few years, pangolins have become widely trafficked. And I mean, with almost every seizure you see in Asia, it's always pangolin scales and then sometimes ivory. Their populations are becoming highly threatened. And for example, December 2019, 2 of the pangolin species we find in Africa and in Nigeria as well were moved from being vulnerable to endangered on the IUCN red list, meaning that if nothing is done about their population, they might go extinct. So it's really important to create a day like this so people, you raise awareness about this issue among the population and help people understand why we need to protect them. Because if we don't raise awareness, nothing changes in terms of attitude. People continue to hunt them, to push them, to trade them illegally.
So you haven't told us what use they are,
Exactly.
either to the environment or to humans or to...
What's their place in the ecosystem?
Yes.
Ecologically, they consume millions of ants and termites. And this helps to like keep the soil fertile.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but then another question that will arise from there is, if they are threatened, some would just say, wait a minute, what's the big deal? Why not just repopulate them? Why not just, they have reproductive systems, don't they? So,
good question, really, because I think that's one thing conservationists are trying to like educate the public about. The reproduction cycle for some of these animals are really not like, say, what we find in grass cutters. Like pangolins, for example, give birth to one offspring per year. And so they are really slow producing. So if
you can't find twins in
no,
pangolins.
it's really rare, but it's something the professor can discuss. Pangolin, something you find with great apes like gorillas. They are really slow producing. They're not like grass cutters that can give birth to like 10, 15, or 20. Just one offspring a year. And it's really, really slow and if you continue like poaching them, hunting them, and the population is not recovering as quickly as the demand, then obviously like you get to a point where you wouldn't see them in the wild again.
Okay.
Sorry, Professor. Do pangolins live so close to humans that they can be easily haunted?
Yes, they are found around humans, and it's so easy to catch one because they are defenseless. They have scales all over the body, but the scales are just made of keratin. In fact, that's one of the problems we have, the scales. People think that the scales have, especially in traditional Chinese medicine, they think that, they have curative properties. For example, they think it can cure ailments ranging from lactation difficulties to arthritis and so on and so forth. So they poach these animals to get the scales so that they can use in traditional medicine. They also use it around here in traditional medicine, the scales of the animals. So the animals are so easy to catch. For example, if you touch a pangolin, all it does is just curl up. The keratin scales are harmless. A child can catch a pangolin. They are defenseless. And I'm happy to see Linus there this morning. And I want to support what he said. The pangolins are very, very endangered. Why? Because they cannot defend themselves. They are easily poached. They give birth to one most of the time. They are not social animals. So when we find one in a place, before you find another one, will be several kilometers away. So they are solitary animals. So they don't exist in a social group where they can mate all the time. Okay. So they have a lot of problems already bedeviling them. And now we have human beings using them for traditional medicine and eating them as a delicacy. Now, we have been eating pangolins in Africa for so long. As a delicacy, most people will tell you, in Yoruba, we call it akika or aka. They will tell you it's a delicacy, it's sweet. But the real problem we have is the illegal trafficking. It is the most illegally trafficked mammal, even before the elephant ivory, just like Linus said. So what we have is that they are being carted away. I have some examples here. There was a report in 2015 where we had as much as pangolins shipped into Singapore, worth 1.3 million Singapore dollars. And also in 2016, we also had tons, like over 3 tons of pangolin scales, which is one of the biggest in 2016, mixed with a container of wood products imported from Nigeria, estimated to be to contain about 7,500 creatures that have been killed. That seizure alone was estimated to be worth more than $2 million. Then in 2020, the Nigerian Customs Zone A also seized like 147 sacks of pangolin scales, weighing 9,500.1 kilogram worth 10.26 billion naira. Okay, and then in January again, 2021, the Nigerian Customs Service, Apapa Command, Area Command, also intercepted pangolin scales and other mixed endangered species meant for export, worth 952 million naira. It was heading to Vietnam. So Nigeria is now reputed as the main hub for traffickers, sending the scales of African pangolins to Asia, where they are used for medicines. It is a big problem. It's a very big problem. They live around us. In fact, it is very obvious to hunters and bush meat market sellers that they don't find them as much as they used to find them in those days. Now, when you ask hunters, when you go on hunting expeditions and you're looking for pangolins, do you really find them? They tell you that it's not like the way it used to be, because in those days they were everywhere. But now they are so few because they have been hunted down. People are very interested in getting them, poaching, trading, hunting, because they know it will fetch some money. And when you look at the economic situation of the country, you can see that when a hunter sees that one pangolin will fetch him like 10,000 naira to 15,000 naira, he will rather poach and get this pangolin and sell off. So it's a big, big problem we have in the country. Now, our problem is not just trading and hunting. It is also the enforcement of laws. Now, the laws are there. We are a signatory to CITES, Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species. And they categorize this pangolin species under absolute prohibition. So its importation or trade is illegal globally. But our country is not enforcing this law, and we're signatory to that law. So this is a problem. So there's a lot of trading. There's a lot of poaching. There's a lot of selling. There's a lot of movement of pangolins and pangolin scales across the borders and away from the country. And we are faced with a situation whereby, if we're not careful, in some years to this time, we will hardly find pangolins in existence again in the country in Africa, okay, because they would have all been shipped away from the country. Now, these are the issues we are facing. So they are found around humans, and they are easily taken or hunted or poached.
Linus, Prof has referenced an aspect that I wanted to raise with you, and that is, we know that this is a present problem, Mr. Onaso. And since we have a Ministry of the Environment, one would expect that, okay, perhaps that should be, part of their own responsibility to ensure that those laws that Nigeria is signatory to, those policies that will protect these endangered species, one of which, because I'm sure there are several other endangered species like that, one of which is this pangolin that we're talking about now. So what has government done, or what plan did government have along this line, since we are signatory to some of these treaties that she talked about?
Yeah, I'm not a government official, but of course, if I should take on that question, in 2016, to start with, our president amended the existing wildlife legislation, the Endangered Species Control of International Trade Amendment Act 2016, that raised the penalties substantially from 1,000, for example, to almost 500,000 for anybody who is caught hunting, trading, or dealing with these animals that are listed in the first schedule, like pangolins. And I mean, it can fetch you up to like 3 years in jail as well for doing something like that. So I mean, that's like a very good improvement from the existing laws we had. And also, I mean, like you heard us say, customs. I mean, there are a lot of agencies involved when it comes to like wildlife and protecting wildlife and then tackling the illegal wildlife trade. I mean, the Ministry of Environment is the overall umbrella ministry involved, but there's also NISRIA, there's customs, there's the National Park, and all of those working together. And I think, yeah, we've had like some interceptions, but the problem with the interception itself is it doesn't give you like a true picture of what the situation is, because this trade is heavily on the ground. So it just sort of, I mean, they are working, they're doing their best, but obviously, I mean, most of the seizures we've had with pangolins, for example, typically happen in Asia and not in Nigeria. I mean, a few in Nigeria, but the vast majority is in Asia. But whatever little interception we have in Nigeria is also an indication that, yes, I mean, a lot is changing in terms of what is happening locally. But of course, beyond interceptions, you've got to like prosecute whoever you've arrested. And that is like the main issue. It's not just about arresting people. You've got to prosecute them. Because when you begin to prosecute and then penalize people, this like sort of creates massive awareness about the laws and serve like as a deterrent to whoever is even interested in getting into that field itself.
Now, Professor, how much cooperation are you getting from customs, for instance, in intercepting these activities of the exportation of pangolins and pangolin shells?
Well, I must say that I'm impressed because when we started out as a group in 2016 and we called in some law enforcement agents or agencies to our program, and we were talking about pangolins, there was so much, most of them did not really know much about the pangolins. But I'm happy now and excited that most law enforcement agencies are talking about pangolins, and there are more arrests, by customs. Just like Linus said, before, all the arrests used to be at Singapore, in Vietnam, but now we are making arrests in Nigeria. We are intercepting, the customs are trying, and they are seizing quite a number of pangolin scales that are meant to be taken away from the country. So I'm excited and I'm happy about that. But there's still a big gap. What we're advocating for is that we want all the other arms, the Nestria, for instance, and so on, and so, the police, all those that can arrest. And we don't just want arresting at the borders. We want a situation whereby we can actually arrest those handling, because that's what the law says, handling, dealing with this endangered species. Arrests, we want arrests to be made. After investigations, there's a need to take necessary action in line of these environmental laws, guidelines, protocols, conventions, and treaties. And we should know that the industrial volume of trafficked pangolins should spur Nigerian government to go beyond just seizing, but proactively investigate the criminal networks that are involved in this, in what we're talking about. So with successful prosecutions of wildlife traffickers, Nigeria will become a more high-risk environment in which to undertake this illicit activity. So these are what we're looking forward to. We don't just want, we have tried, customs, they are trying now. I mean, we have more arrests, but we want it to go beyond that. We want anybody handling, anybody dealing, anybody trading in these animals to be arrested and prosecuted. So we want our judicial system to also rise up to the occasion. We want the Nigerian government to key into what we're talking about, because when we keep on talking about Nigeria is now a hub, I mean, and we have this dent and this embarrassment on our names, it means that it tells a lot about the country. So we want something to be done by the government to address this situation of illegal trafficking. And we're just using this pangolin as a point of contact. There are other endangered species and other wildlife tradings going on in Nigeria. We want the government to do something about this. So
okay.
That is
Professor, how is World Pangolin Day being celebrated?
Well, it is being celebrated all over the world, and I'm especially excited this year because I've seen quite a lot of enthusiasm and quite a lot of people keen in. Before, it used to be a lone ranger place, but now we have so many organizations, we have so many people, we have so many individuals, everybody keen in to celebrate the pangolins. So I'm really excited about that. So it is being celebrated all over the world today, February 20. People are doing webinars, they are running for pangolins, they are doing all sorts of things, for the pangolin, just to raise awareness, just to make sure that people are aware that there's this particular animal running very fast to extinction, and it's going to tell a lot on our ecosystem if they should go into extinction. And just like Linus said, that one pangolin eats millions of insects, termites and ants. Termites are pests to our crops. When you're a farmer, you will know what it is to have termites on your farm, okay? Or when you build a house and it is taken over by termites, I'm sure you will know what that means. It can raise down the whole house. Now, this is a natural pest controller. Now, if you remove that from the ecosystem, there will be a boom in the population of termites. So God knows what he's doing by putting everything in place, what to check what, predators, and the ecosystem is balanced with all these things in their places. By the time we remove the pangolin, then there will be a major problem.
Perhaps, Prof, the challenge now is messaging to people to understand what this challenge is about. Mr. Ona, when you tell people about pangolin, not to hunt pangolin, you are telling them not to hunt bushmeat. that's the understanding they have as at now. You know, just as she said, you know, go to some hunters. I mean, they're wondering what you're talking about. But perhaps there is a need for us to re-strategize our messaging so people understand that this segment of wildlife, Mr. Una, they are also important to the ecosystem, and consequently, we need to protect them.
Yes, I mean, and that is what Wild Aid is doing, really. That's like our specialty, really, producing like behavior change campaigns that help to shift attitude among the public. And in Nigeria, I mean, our approach to this is understanding that, especially among urban residents who are largely unaware about these issues, finding ways to create messages that is culturally resonant. It's not about saying, hey, stop eating bushmeat, but it's so much about like running pride campaigns that teach people about the importance of wildlife as like a vital component of our natural heritage. They have to explain the ecological importance of some wildlife species, that try to like raise awareness about the laws among people, and also show them why they need to act. And we try to like employ a lot of strategies. For example, producing mini documentaries about rangers that are in the forest working day and night to protect these species and the dangers they face, using celebrities that are really influential among people to produce public service announcements that really educate people about these issues.
You're assuming that celebrity is not a bushmeat eating one. but let me take this to Prof. You know, World Pangolin Day is a conversation starter. Yeah. Clearly, what do we need to do to take it further? I mean, some in my mind now, I see National Geographic. You know, but how far-reaching can that be on those two continents that you talk about, having the most population of pangolin? So, from this World Pangolin Day, where do we go from here? Or wait till another year?
No, we don't wait for another year. In fact, we are always working. In the Pangolin Conservation Guild, Nigeria, what we do is that, well, apart from raising awareness, we are also concerned about making sure that we help these animals, we save them from poachers. So what we do is we rescue them away from traders, from poachers, from hunters when we get them. When we rescue them, we rehabilitate them, we take care of them, and then we release them into protected forest areas. We have done this for quite a large number of pangolins all over Nigeria. We get calls from all over Nigeria to pick up pangolins. Once we pick them up, some of them are so stressed, some of them are sick, some of them, we get them when they're at the brink of just dying off. So what we do, our vets attend to them, they take care of them, administer drugs, make sure that we take care of their wounds and so on and so forth. If they're stressed, we try to help them. And then after that, when they're stable, we release them into protected forest areas where we know they will thrive, give birth. In fact, we have had instances where pangolins we saved gave birth to young ones. So that is what we do. Then we also try to one-on-one get involved with stakeholders, with the law enforcement agencies. We try, and then we also try to advocate and try to speak to government bodies how they can help, because just as you rightly said, somebody's profession is to hunt and to kill, so that they can fend for their families. So how do you tell that kind of person, don't kill bushmeat or don't sell bushmeat? We think that if this kind of people, the hunters, the bushmeat sellers, are empowered by the government. Now, there are other animals that are not endangered and are not threatened and are of least concern. For example, grass cutters can be raised. Poultry can be done, so we're encouraging government bodies, at different levels to help see to the empowerment of these farmers, of these hunters, of these bushmeat sellers, so that they can shift focus away from hunting and selling pangolins. So these are the things we're trying to do. Okay, apart from raising awareness, apart from trying to, tell the populace the importance of the pangolins and the ecosystem, we rescue pangolins, we rehabilitate them, and then we release them to protected forest areas. And we also carry out research on pangolins so that we can better know how to help them survive and thrive so that they don't go into extinction.
Thank you very much, Professor. Happy World Pangolin Day to you all. Professor Olajumoke Morenikeji, Chair, Pangolin Conservation Guild, Nigeria, as well as Linus Una, West Africa representative of Wild Aid. Thank you very much for coming to create awareness about the pangolin and telling us about World Pangolin Day. Happy World Pangolin Day to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Sunrise will be right back with the home stretch in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Well, it's the home stretch. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I'm wondering what's going to come out of your mouth now.
Well, it just came out of my mouth now that you have the script. And you are expecting an actor or a musician or a comedian. Oh, which one are you expecting?
Well, yeah, you got part of it right.
Okay.
Actor, filmmaker.
Okay. In the person of Abayomi Aderibibe.
Otherwise known as
Yomi. Is it Yomi or Yomi? Yoruba can be very interesting.
Yomi. Yomi.
It's Abayomi, so it's Yomi.
Yomi Aderibibe. Not Yomi Rescue Me.
Abayomi.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Abayomi is an actor and a filmmaker, and he's best known for his role as Sunday in the hit comedy skit series Sunday and Lolade, alongside Kiki Omeli, which made its theatrical debut as the first Nigerian comedy skit series to premiere at the cinemas.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You acted with Kiki.
Yes.
The doctor turned actor.
Actor, yes. We went to school together, so...
Okay, did you produce that?
Yes, I did. So I also produce and direct a lot of movies and series. But that was very popular. It was...
So soft-spoken. Were you the soft-spoken in the skit? Or you're just pretending?
No, actually... Actually, a lot of people say this. When I talk to people on the phone, they think I'm a woman. But...
That's not good for you, for your image.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's helped me a couple of times.
Exactly.
Because,
so long as it opens the doors, right?
Because what happens is that they people are more receptive when they hear my voice on the phone because they think they're talking to, a female. So I never correct them.
So you scam them.
So you don't complain.
You scam them.
No, I have no. I mean, it's my voice.
I'm going to say it again.
I love it.
You scam them.
Well, the word scam in Nigeria now is scary.
Okay.
Now tell us about you.
Yomi Black. I'm a creator. I'm a content creator.
Okay.
In all forms, photography, film.
Photography?
Yes, I started out as a photographer, but I evolved too fast.
Okay, what about school?
Oh, I studied mathematics and statistics, University of Lagos. Unilag. Yes, I did.
Mathematics?
And statistics, yes.
So what are you doing here?
Well, the truth is, I love different challenges. When I studied math, and when I got out of school, I did something with it, created a product with a few banks. So I've used my school knowledge, but I've always been an entertainer, always been, from when I was a kid. So when I got out of school, I had to pursue that dream because it's just always right there in my head.
Are you sure it's not because you just wanted to calculate money with your skills as opposed to just calculate figures?
Yes. The good thing is, I'm sure in every field there's money. So in every field you can count money. But the thing about entertainment is that it's always in my head. I have dreams about it.
Okay, now, comedy in Nigeria, especially in the media and all now, you would remember Aleros, far back as the 80s, the John Chukwus, and so many others like that. They have evolved over the years.
Thanks to Alibaba.
Thanks to Alibaba and the rest of them now.
Yeah.
What kind of a tool would you call comedy? Is it just to entertain, or are there some progressive, productive things that comedy can be used to do in?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that question. One of the best questions I've ever heard. For comedy, it's a tool to pass a message all the time. You know, so in all my stories, I'm always trying to say something. But if I tell you regularly, you wouldn't listen to me. So I have to make it funny. I make it subtle. So when it doesn't come at you like I'm aggressive, it's sort of passive, but it passes through. It gets to you. So the idea is not only to entertain, is to really, really educate and change the narrative. You know, my personal goal in life, because I see the way my country is and I know what it can be. I doubt if I'll ever live enough to be in that ideal country because of the slow pace of development.
Well, I don't know about you, I will.
Well, when I mean ideal, because well, hopefully.
Is that what you do on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so what I try to do is create the type of world that, you know, I expect younger people to watch and follow, because we're the role models. They don't look up to the politicians. They don't care about those guys. So they look up to people like us. So it's important that we create the future that they expect. So it's very important to me.
Albeit make believe.
What? So come again?
I said albeit make believe.
Yes, yes.
It is somewhere that's in your head for now.
For now.
And you're hoping that it will become a reality in their lifetime.
Yes, and hopefully I might be gray and old, but I would like to see a certain type of Africa, not even just Nigeria, just a certain type.
Another thing that will be interesting to anyone now, especially with the vision that you have, is how do we motivate people through these artworks into not just thinking change, but to actually do the change and be the change that we need to be?
To be honest, I mean, you can see how there's a voice right now, an unheard voice amongst the young people. Some of these messages are coming out strong. And I'm excited for 2023 because I can see that they're crossing from just thinking to now doing. I know a lot of people that are trying to
end SARS.
Yes, you know. I didn't know if I could say that on TV. You know, so a lot of people are trying to do, not just talk anymore. So it's really, really important.
Okay. So we're making progress along that line now. And now that you both have decided to talk about NSARS, we're talking to a specific catchment of the population, which are the young people. And it's that same population that's most populous in the entertainment industry and in the country and virtually everywhere. So galvanizing them through these things, acting, filmmaking, media, entertainment, and those things, comedy at all, to the change, towards the change that you referenced, or you cast aspersions at in the reference to 2023 is there. How do we do that?
To be honest, it's beyond 2023.
My apologies. Yeah. Entertainment is where most of them are.
Yes.
But entertainment is not where the real change is. Entertainment is supposed to be a tool for this change.
It means to an end.
Get in there.
Like I said, it's like passing a message. It's more of consistency. If we keep, because that's one of the only channels through which young people are listening. So we have to keep, and it has to be, it's more than me. It has to be me, you, every young person that's trying to create a positive change. If the voice is one and the vision, like one thing is that our politicians don't really give us a vision. You know, they're just very reactive. They're just always killing fires and, you know, but if we can give them a vision, a hope, something to look forward to. It'll be good for, to see how people can grow.
Okay, Yomi Black, this is 2021.
Yes.
5 years from now, 10 years from now, where is he?
Man, hopefully I will have produced a lot of African content. My entire goal is to produce about 10 to 20,000 hours of film, TV series. So in 5 to 10 years from now, I want to be doing the kind of things the likes of Mo Abudu is doing. By the way, she's my role model. I really think she's great. Like, she kicks in the door, without taking no for an answer. She's really pushing our industry far into the international, audience. And that's what I want to be in 5 to 10 years from now.
Okay, so we'll be expecting to go to a cinema in LA, for instance, and watch one of your films.
That would be great.
Is that what you're saying?
That would be great, but I'm more concerned about going to Kenya, Kinshasa, Congo, Johannesburg. I'm more concerned about Africa.
Okay, do you have any movies on cinema right now?
Yes, there's a movie we're promoting right now. It's called Fine Wine. I was one of the production team. It was created for Valentine's. Beautiful movie. It has R&B.
Even if you say so yourself.
Oh, no, the reviews say so.
Is it showing yet?
It's showing right now at the cinemas.
Okay.
And it's
Fine Wine.
Yes,
okay.
Fine Wine.
Okay.
It's an amazing film. And, the reviews have been good, great, and it's very exciting.
Okay. Good thing it's a movie and not a wine bottle. I wonder how much it'll cost. Yomi Black, Abayomi Aderibigbe, thank you so much for your time and thought. Oh, you did have a stint with the radio?
Oh, yes. Like I told you, I evolved a lot. I started on radio.
Well, she started with radio. See where she is now.
Wow.
Well, who knows where you are going?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time and
thank you so much for having me.
thoughts this morning, for being on the program.
And that's where we anchor it for today. See you next week with another very interesting package. My name is Alera Udu, wishing you a very happy weekend, and see you next month.
Next month? I'm Ayo Makinde. I don't know what she's talking about yet, but we'll talk about that
She's
right
wrong.
after this.
She's wrong. It's not next month yet. See you next week.
Have a wonderful rest of your week.